Hey, what's happening, y'all? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? We are live. We are live. We're live. I'm coming back at you with another live stream vid. I'm gonna make this very, very short because I want to get through these list of topics pretty quickly. Um, I forgot to mention one of those topics, to lead off on, and people pretty much knew, have been who's caught the, pretty much caught the update on the Chris Eubank and the not Nigel Benn. I'm sorry, the Conor Benn fight. Supposedly the fight, Eubank Senior is going to pull his son out of the fight because he doesn't like the conditions, particularly with the rehydration and losing the additional catch weight. So he feels his son is in danger, and he believes that they're at a disadvantage when it comes to this catch weight, which, look, that's understandable, but at the same time, your son did sign off on those terms. He did sign off on those conditions to make the fight happen. So um, it is rumored that he's going to pull it out. He's going to pull out, but as of right now, it's not set in stone. It's only rumored that as we speak. But as of right now, the fight's still on, and we'll have to see when further information develops. So that's the only thing I could say about this. Perhaps it's mind games, reason why Eubank Jr. is threatening to pull out of the fight just to get into Conor Benn's head. I don't know, but it is very telling for him, for him to say that. He did, he further quoted by saying that I'm not prepared to lose another son. In case you guys didn't know, he lost his other son through a drowning accident in Dubai, which was maybe several months ago, or maybe it was late last year or several months ago, earlier this year. I could be wrong, but it is a very tragic situation. So, I guess he hasn't quite mourned over that, but I totally get that his situation right here. But here's some interesting news I want to share with you guys here, and I really got to call out the double standard here. What up, Percy? What it do, bro? What it do? What it do? What it do? I got some interesting news to share with you guys. Anthony Joshua gets a ranking by the WBC. He's ranked number 6, and I'm gonna share this screen right here, and I really want to see the reaction to everybody about this. All right, I'm gonna show it to you right here. So this is the WBC's latest updates, right? As you can see right here, Deontay Wilder still ranked number 1, Andy Ruiz number 2, Frank Sanchez number 3, Rob Helenius is 4, Askalabek Makaduov is number 5, and Anthony Joshua is number 6. He is rated ahead of Dillian White, Otto Wallin, Martin Bakoli, Zon Kustabgaski of Kazakhstan, and Luis Ortiz, who dropped all the way down to number 11. And then we have, rounding off the top 15, you have Michael Hunter, who is actually scheduled to fight Huey Fury for the final eliminator for the WBA. Philip Herkovich, who got a very, very, very shady win over, or controversial win over Julie Zhang, which many felt that he lost that fight, but it is what it is. But he is the mandatory challenger for the IBF. So, and then we have Derek Chisora. I forgot to mention Derek Chisora, who's ranked number 13. He moved up 2 spots in the latest rankings. And then you have Efe Ajaba, who recently knocked out his, I forgot who his opponent's name is, but he recently earned the top 15 ranking after his win. So um, now, Anthony Joshua, right? I know some people are going to call this out and say, well, wait a minute. This guy just suffered 2 straight losses back to back. He's lost 3 of his last 5 fights. So how in the hell does he get a number 6 ranking ahead of Otto Wallin, Martin Bakoli, and, like some Michael Hunter, not Michael Hunter, but let's just say Otto Wallin and Martin Bakoli. They're coming off string of wins. So they're on a winning streak, and yeah, he gets a higher ranking above those guys. Now, I'm going to be fair. I'm going to be very consistent. Now, when Deontay Wilder maintained his number 1 ranking after coming off back-to-back losses over Tyson Fury, which were bad losses, knockout losses, and he still has a number 1 rating, right? I criticized that too. I said that Deontay needs to fall back in line. I don't know why the WBC has him ranked there at number 1, but I could see why. The reason why they have him there because Deontay Wilder is one of the biggest money makers in the heavyweight division. Those sanction fees that he brings are very, very lucrative. So this is the reason why I believe why they one of the reasons I should say why they have Anthony Joshua rated number six. Not only because of his sanction fees are very lucrative, but I think they're anticipating that Tyson Fury showdown, which is another reason why they rated Derek Chisora in the top 15. But nothing's came about from that fight, so we don't know what's going on there. But um, yeah, but I think it's quite interesting to see that he gets a number 6 ranking. Excuse my language. I think we're going to have a little bit of interference here because of the Wi-Fi. Let me see if I turn it off here. Okay, that should do it. Hopefully we should get more better coverage. But anyhow, Joshua gets a number 6 ranking by the WBC. And my point of me bringing this up is that another reason I should bring this up is that the same people that criticize Deontay Wilder for being rated number 1 by the WBC after back-to-back losses, then why the hell is Anthony Joshua justified to getting a number 6 ranking ahead of Martin Bakole and Otto Wallin? Now, I like to see them keep that same energy. I know they're going to say, well, the difference is that Wilder didn't get, not difference is that Joshua did get knocked out in back-to-back fights or losses, whatever. Well, that's not the point. The point is that he suffered 2 back-to-back losses. Well, not 2. He suffered back-to-back losses, and he's lost 3 of his last 5 fights. So why should he get a ranking ahead of Otto Wallin and Martin Bakole, who's on winning streaks? So, again, I know they're going to use my talking point. They're going to say, well, Anthony Joshua's money. That's the reason why he's a moneymaker. That's the reason why they gave him the benefit of doubt. I get that. But so is Deontay Wilder. And let's not misconstrue what I'm going to say here. Deontay Wilder is not the biggest draw. I mean, he's not a bigger draw than Anthony Joshua. We all know that. But again, it's not the point. The point is that both men are coming off back-to-back losses, and they still get a high ranking by the WBC. So the same people that criticize Deontay Wilder for being rated number 1 after back-to-back losses, that I want to see them come out and criticize the WBC for giving Joshua a number 6 ranking after back-to-back losses. I want to see them keep that same energy, but apparently they won't. They'll come up with any kind of talking point and say, well, it's justifiable because Anthony Joshua deserves another shot at the title. He hasn't been knocked out in 2 straight fights. Again, it's not the point. The point is he's suffered 2 grueling back-to-back losses to Usyk. He's lost 3 of his last 5 fights. There's just no way you can justify this ranking. It's the same thing you cannot justify the ranking of Deontay Wilder. I am very consistent. There's no way we can justify Wilder being ranked number 1. But again, I can see why these two are getting the benefit of the doubt because of the fact they are the money makers. If you want to make money in the heavyweight division, you have to fight those two. It's Wilder, it's Joshua. Actually, it's Joshua, Wilder, Fury, and Usyk. Those are the 4 you have to go see if you want to make money in the heavyweight division. So, yeah, you know what? Good point, Hamed. Shout out to Hamed. You know, it is kind of weird because Joshua was never ranked by the WBC before. In fact, the rumor mill is that Joshua refused to partake in the clean boxing program. This was the rumor that went out several years ago, which I did kind of find suspicious myself because at one point he was carrying their regional title until the WBC implemented the clean boxing program. He was taken off the rankings. So the rumor was that he refused to partake in year-round testing for the WBC, which is the clean boxing program. So, it is kind of weird that he gets a ranking, although he's never been ranked. He hasn't been ranked in the WBC for many, many, many years. Now, to be fair, he was he was a champion in the other sanctioned body, so I can understand that. But more recently, he's got 2 consecutive losses. And he didn't get this ranking until Tyson Fury brought up his name about trying to make a fight with him. So that's the reason why the WBC blessed the ranking, on behalf of Fury in my view. So, again, I would love to see these videos go out on this, and I anticipate these videos to go out tomorrow or later tonight on my end. But I like to see the talking points. I like to see the Joshua fanboys spin this one. Because, I mean, they'll do their best to spin it and justify these rankings. But is no way in hell that he is justify that ranking at all. No way. And same thing with Deontay Wilder. No way in hell you could justify him being number one ahead of everybody else who's on string of wins. Andy Ruiz, Luis Ortiz before he lost to Andy Ruiz, Robert Helenius, Joe Joyce, Joseph Parker. I mean, this is just no way. But again, it's all about money. Joshua and Wilder are the two biggest, two of the. I would say they're two of the four biggest money makers in the heavyweight division, right? Right next to Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. So, yeah, that's the reason why they're getting the benefit of doubt above everyone else, which is fucked up. I don't justify it, but it's fucked up. It's the way it is, unfortunately. So, yeah, Hamed says, I'm a Joshua fan, but this makes no sense at all. All of a sudden, because he's in talks with fighting, Fury fighting Joshua. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly why they gave Chisora the ranking, because he was in talks of fighting Tyson Fury, and they sent him a contract. They gave him, they laid out the particulars, and ultimately, Chisora didn't take the fight. So, this is also one of the reasons why they're giving Joshua the ranking, anticipation of that fight. But dude, I can understand giving him like a low ranking, like maybe 11 or 12, but they gave him number 6. I mean, ahead of Otto Wallin and Martin Bacoli. They're giving him the really, 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 sweet treatment there. But you know what's funny though? It could also be a good thing in one way, because wait a minute, why don't you plug Joshua in there with that mini heavyweight tournament that's going on right now? Luis Ortiz versus Andrew Ruiz. Then you have Wilder versus Helenius coming up. I know the winner of that becomes a final, becomes a mandatory challenger. Why not plug Joshua into it? In fact, why don't you mandate Joshua to fight, either one of those ranked guys like Bacoli, like Otto Wallin? Why don't we get that in there? Add that into the mix, and then whoever the Wilder Helenius fight, let's say Wilder hypothetically beats Helenius, which we expect him to do, then he gets passed by Andrew Ruiz, and then if Joshua gets past Otto Wallin, then we can see Wilder versus Joshua. That could work. Why not? Why not? Adari Pennant says, shout out to Adar. He says that I hope the WBC Bridgerweight division gets canceled, scrapped, the necessary pure garbage. Yeah, there's really nothing going on there. I mean, what's Oscar Rivas doing with that damn belt? I mean, he's a lineal champion there. I mean, there's just literally no activity in the Bridgerweight division. It just makes no sense, and it's a waste of time, to be honest with you. So, yeah, it makes no sense at all. Usyk and Wilder actually proves that point. Anyway, and who's the other heavyweight? What he called the prospect, Richard Torres. I actually, that's not fair to include him into that, because, excuse me, he's still a work in progress. Percy said that Joshua shouldn't even be fighting again this year. He needs to get a trainer and hone his skill. I agree. I think he needs to take the rest of the year off. I'm not saying he should take a 1 year off like I initially said. I had to scale back on that, and I had to reassess this a little bit further. I think he needs to take at least take the rest of the year off, and then come back and fight early next year. Let's say maybe February, March, around that time. I think that'd be enough time for him to heal, not only from a physical standpoint, but also from a mental standpoint. Because right now, Joshua's confidence is shot right now. I don't give a damn what people say. You can say, oh, he needs to be active, he needs to fight by the end of the year. No, he does not. The man is clearly not confident right now. I mean, what I mean by confidence, as Hatman says, it's not like, that level of confidence where, okay, if he fought a guy like me or Percy, for example, yeah, Joshua will be fully confident to fight us. But like a guy on an elite level, like Deontay Wilder, like a Tyson Fury, like a Joe Joyce, or the Martin Bacolis, who else is there? You get my drift. That level of confidence on world level, he's not at the right place right now. So he needs to take a step back from world level, hone his skill, like Percy says. Then he could get better. I think he needs to take the rest of the year off and then go back at it in February or March. I think that's what they need to do. I don't think they need to put him back in there in December, to be honest with you. I think that's a bad idea. That's just my opinion. So, yeah, let me see. Hamed says not the biggest Dillian White fan, but how the WBC handled that situation was not a good look. Yeah, you know what though? I think it was it was a mixture of Dillian and actually let me stop sharing my screen. It was a mixture of Dillian White and Eddie Hearn causing a public campaign, smear campaign against the WBC. Now, hear me out here. I'm not defending the WBC on in any type of fashion. Maybe I am to some extent. I criticize them a lot. I've criticized their practices and their decision making. I get it. They have been a shady, corrupt organization for many, many decades. I get all that. It goes all the way back to the reign of Jose Suleiman. But the fact is that the WBC didn't deserve to be smeared the way Hearn and Josh and White did. They smeared him so badly to the point that people were even threatening Mauricio Suleiman, sending him death threats. That's how bad it was. Okay. Now, I'm going to call a spade a spade. The WBC tried their best to work with Dillian. They gave him multiple opportunities en route for a title shot. He turned them all down. He's turned down a lot of eliminators. And by the way, he hasn't turned down just the WBC eliminators like 2 or 3 times. He's turned down the IBF eliminator. He's turned down a direct shot at the title one time. So this guy's been ducked out of fights. He's ducked out of, plenty of eliminators, a direct shot at the title with Anthony Joshua at that time. It's like I couldn't give him the benefit of the doubt, and people wanted me to feel sorry for him. I'm like, no, Dillian brought this on himself because he continuously turned down opportunities, particularly with the WBC. They given him routes to take for a title shot, and he just turned them down. It seems like he wanted everything handed over to him like a silver platter. That's just my opinion. Yeah, ultimately he got his shot at the title, and he still bitched about it. He still complained about his title shot. I'm like, what is this guy on? For real. I'm like, what is wrong with him? He bitches and complains to Mauricio Suleiman about how complain about how you stifled me over that Wilder situation. And Mauricio Suleiman said, well, wait a minute, why are you complaining now? You got your title shot now. Why are you tripping? So that's why I was like, I don't have really much sympathy for him in that whole WBC situation. I really don't. And again, I'm not saying that the WBC were totally innocent in that situation. I'm not saying they were totally transparent, but at times they were trying to be transparent. They tried to compromise with him. They given him good opportunities to get in shot with, a mandatory shot at Wilder, and he turned them down. That's what he did. In fact, Wilder offered him a direct fight to come over to the BBC on a one-off fight, and he still turned that down. So it's like this guy's been turning down title shots all over the place. I forgot to mention that, and nobody wants to talk about. So yeah, I agree. Hamed says, I agree that the WBC Dillian deserves a share of the blame, but the WBC at times were not being transparent, got confusing, I lost track. Yeah, like I said though, I'm not saying they were totally transparent. They weren't. But at the same time, Dillian got to share the blame for why he didn't get his title shot at that time, why it was stalling for for several years, because it was his own doing. He's turned down multiple eliminators. He turned down a direct shot at Deontay Wilder. Wilder offered him a shot. As long as you just sign off on one, as long as you sign off, do a one-off with the PBC. He didn't want to do that. He turned down the he ducked out of the Kubrat Pulev eliminator when he lost the purse bid. He turned down a direct shot at Anthony Joshua rematch for the title. So yeah, he has himself to blame in some of that, some part of the blame, I should say. So I'm not going to be on this feel sorry for Dillian campaign. I'm not with that. And I know I got criticized for saying it, but I maintain my position that Dillian White was his own doing it in some parts of that situation with the WBC. That's just my take. But yeah, anyhow, Joshua getting a ranking by the WBC, number 6. I like to see people come out and really criticize the WBC for this move right here. But apparently, the Joshua fanboys are not going to do it. They're not going to do it. They're going to say, well, it is shady, but it's no different from why Wilder gets the number 1. Oh, no. That's not the point. The point is that they both shouldn't be deserved to get high rankings after back-to-back losses. In fact, Joshua is, is en route, supposedly, allegedly, he's en route getting another title shot after back-to-back losses. And Wilder, on the other hand, he's not even getting another shot after back-to-back losses. He's fighting through eliminators. But Joshua's not going to do that? So, allegedly? Okay, then. Come on. Let's keep it a buck, things a buck. Let's keep everything equal. Let's keep everything on a consistent basis when it comes to your level of criticism. So yeah, Dan, I agree. Dillian was not the victim he made it out to be. There were fights against Ortiz in Brazil and he avoided. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Exactly. So I don't, I'm not going to be on this whole I'm sorry for Dillian campaign. I wasn't even on that crap. Initially, I was until I further assessed and studied the situation for what it is. So, yeah, Adari says that I'd like to see Rivas versus Desor. I would love to see it too, but like I said, Rivas is still holding on to that WBC title at Bridgerweight. So yeah. Ortiz versus Kubrat Pulev, Battle of the Old Men. Yeah, that's an interesting fight. If anything, I probably favor Pulev because he still has some punch resistance. I mean, his punch resistance is still there. Ortiz, on the other hand, he can't take a punch anymore, and that's sad to say. But he's still game. He's still brave. He still wants to fight. But me personally, I advise Luis Ortiz to retire. That's just my opinion. Yeah, that's all I got to say about this whole Joshua getting that number 6 ranking because that is shocking to me. Very shocking. But again, it's just as shocking as Wilder getting that number 1 ranking after back-to-back losses to Fury. So, yeah, that's just equally bad. Let's see what else is there. So Shields and Marshall has been postponed. We all learned about that a few days ago. That was, that's in conjunction to the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. So as of right now, the UK is mourning. So they have a 10-day, I believe, mourning cycle to where certain sporting events are going to be put onto halt until her burial is completed and her ceremony is done, I should say. So yeah, so they have tentatively postponed the fight, not October 10th. I'm sorry. They postponed the Shields card on October 15th, which is very interesting, by the way. And the reason why I say that is because uh, there's a lot of boxing happening on that day. A lot of good boxing. You have Devin Haney versus George Gambos's rematch that's going to take place. And then you have Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius PBC pay-per-view card taking place. Then you have that KSI undercard. I'm not sure if anybody care about those influenced boxing. You remember Hasim Rockman Jr. is fighting Victor Belfort on that card. So, and then you have you have this one, Shields versus Marshall on that same day. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure if you could fit all those cards on the same day. That's a lot of boxing that's very cluttered in one day. I mean, it's great, but to move it on October 15th, man, I don't know. I mean, aside from Wilder and Hellenius, that's not going to be the issue when it comes to a scheduling conflict. What's going to be the issue is that you're going to host that fight on the same day of that Rockman versus Victor Belfort card. I think that's going to be held in the UK, and I think KSI is promoting that card. And KSI, whatever his name is on an event, that's going to sell out tickets. I think that's to me, I think it's a bad idea to reschedule that card for that particular day. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Man says no fighters above criticism, but outside Usyk, none of the rest of the top 10 heavyweights or their teams have been consistent. Yeah, I agree. And this is the reason why I praise Alexander Usyk a lot. I praise him highly because you don't get none, you rarely get, I say rarely. I'm not saying never. You rarely get any shenanigans and bullshit from his team. It's like Usyk's in there, his team is in there, they get it done. It's pretty much they're like, okay, let's cut to the chase. Where you want the fight happen, when, what's the venue, what's the split looking like, that's it. And they sign off on it. Our guy will go fight you wherever you want him to fight him. They're just no nonsense pretty much for the most part. They get it done. But everybody else is playing this hot potato of, well, I'm not going to fight him unless I get a higher split. I'm not going to fight him unless I get a bigger ring size. I'm not going to fight him unless I get another size glove or a different style of glove. Or I'm not going to fight him unless, the sponge, the canvas is not too spongy. It's just like all these little bullshit, demands is like, it's just holding up the division. None, to be fair, some fights are happening, but it's happening at a slow rate, man. And that's what's disappointing about this era of heavyweights. I think maybe if we look back on it as years to come, we could say, you know what, this is one of the greatest eras we've ever seen. Too bad the fights didn't happen, at the time that we wanted to happen, but they did happen. You know, that's the way I see it. So yeah, Percy said technically Wilder got a title shot after 2 losses. If you thought he lost the first Fury fight, um, well, he didn't get an immediate title shot if you think about it. So if you want to talk about the first fight, yeah, so draw. He kept his title. Controversial at best. I get it. But he didn't fight Fury right after that. In fact, Fury is the one that ducked out of the immediate rematch. Now, to be fair, the reason why Fury did it because he felt that he needed more time to prepare for Wilder, and there was a little uh, loophole in that contract where you know what, yeah, whoever was the winner was the loser does have a right to the immediate rematch. I get that, but the problem with that is there was no winner in that fight. It was declared a draw, but Fury did verbally commit to immediate rematch, and then he pulls out. He pulls out of the Wilder rematch, immediate rematch. He pulls out. He needed more time to prepare, and he got that deal over Dodd Frank. So basically, I don't think it was more that he needed more time to prepare. I think he needed someone to back him financially and give him the advantages going into that rematch. I think that's what that was about. I mean, I can't knock him for it, but it's a smart business move. That's the way I see it. So, yeah. Yeah. So I see what you're saying, Percy, but at the same time, it still doesn't justify how the hell does Wilder and Joshua get these preferential treatment after they've suffered back-to-back losses. Joshua, yes, he did get knocked out, but the losses against Usyk were very grueling and they're very damaging not only from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. Joshua's mental Joshua didn't get knocked out in back-to-back fights. I get that, but the fact is that punished fight, especially that 10th round, he got punished. Yes, he did, and right now he only needs to rest his body, but he also needs to rest his mind as well. So at this point, Joshua is mentally shot right now. He's mentally shot. I don't give a damn what anybody say. He's mentally shot. And Wilder, on the other hand, it seems like he's regained his mental strength, but we have to see how does he look physically in the ring against Robert Helenius. So there's a good possibility that he may not be the same physically after those 2 brutal fights with Tyson Fury. And I mean, they were very brutal. So yeah. Let me see. My problem with Team Joshua is that there's always been that one way rematch clause from Eddie, and Fury has been inconsistent and always contradict himself. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why I think Eddie Hearn is partly responsible for why we didn't get that undisputed fight. And I say partly. I didn't say he's wholly responsible. Partly because he always have to dictate terms his way. It's like it's either his way or the highway. Yeah, he could say I can make some concessions, but other than that, we're not going to give up on that rematch clause. It's one way or the highway. We're not making it a two-way rematch clause. Should you beat my guy, we still get to dictate the terms for the rematch. That's fucking bullshit. And that's the reasons one of the reasons why the major sticking points of why that Wilder and Joshua fight didn't happen is because he refused to give Wilder that two-way rematch clause. He refused to do it. In fact, people don't even want to talk about this. I'm going to keep bringing this up. When Wilder was screaming about 50-50, yeah, I agree. I agree that Wilder didn't deserve that. All right. But at least he came back and said, you know what? I will compromise. I would get the lower split. I'll take your 60-40 offer as long as I get the rematch clause. Should I beat your guy, then the splits get to reverse, which means I get 60-40. And Hearn didn't want to do that. And now now he's asking for 60-40 reverse split should Joshua beat Fury. See the hypocrisy there? See, now you're asking for it because you're desperate. You're trying to get your guy back into heavyweight contention. That's what you're trying to do. But at the same time, I don't think he really wants to take that fight because right now he knows how very dangerous it is right now for Anthony Joshua, given the fact that he's mentally shot right now. But to me, I just think part of the reason why we didn't get that undisputed fight 3 years ago or 4 years ago is because of Eddie Hearn refusing to at least try to compromise and be fair to Deontay Wilder and his team. At least be fair with the situation. And you can see why many fighters don't like dealing with him right now, or many promoters, because of the fact that he does this bullshit of it's my way or the highway. You cannot make big fights that way, Eddie. Yes, you have made some big fights here and there, but when the fights matter the most, you see to fail. You see to blunder those fights from happening, and that's the truth. So yeah, man, I just think that, this whole one-way rematch clauses, I'm still pissed off thinking about that. These one-way rematch clauses, trying to strong arm people to take it a fight with Joshua is your biggest payday, take it or leave it. Man, get the fuck out of here. Sometimes it's a matter of principle, all right? Money is one thing, but at the same time, I'm not going to let you strong arm me. I know what my right is. I'll take the lower split. Should I beat your guy, I get the split need to be reversed in the rematch. And he didn't want to do that. And he still wanted to control terms. But you know what? Luckily for Alexander Usyk, he didn't even give a damn. He's like, all right, yeah, I'm the mandatory challenger. If you want that rematch clause, you got to pay me extra. Otherwise, we're going to a purse bid. So that's why Eddie Hearn had, this is the one time you actually have to strong arm Eddie Hearn. You have leverage over him in these mandatory situations. That's the reason why he doesn't like negotiate with mandatory challengers, especially when, there's a purse bid that's due. So yeah, he gave Usyk that extra money. Plus, Usyk did agree to that one-way rematch clause, which means should Usyk win, Joshua has a right to a rematch clause, not Usyk should he have lost, right? But Usyk is extremely confident. He's like, you know what? That means I get to beat your guy twice. Unfortunately, he did get the higher split in the rematch. It was a 50-50 split. So Usyk's like, okay, cool, whatever. Money is money. I don't care. I'm going to beat your guy's ass twice. And it's exactly what he did. And that's how I can respect Alexander Usyk. He doesn't give a fuck. Yes, there are some sticky points that he would like to have ironed out, like to have things renegotiated, but it's not to that extreme. And I can respect him from that. And that's why I highly commend what he did. All right, going into that first Joshua fight with literally nobody. I'm talking to those Joshua fanboys. Literally gave him no chance of winning that fight. But when he beat and dominated Joshua, okay, now they have to come to their senses and say, you know what? He's a pound for pound great. There's no shame in losing to him. Yeah, you weren't saying that when he invoked his rematch clause. I mean, his not rematch clause. When he invoked his mandatory clause against Joshua, you guys criticized him for that and said he was a shit. He didn't deserve to get that Joshua fight. But now, when he humiliated Joshua in two different fights, your tunes have changed. He embarrassed him in two fights. I call it an embarrassment, to tell you the truth, because this is supposed to be a cruiserweight that you guys expected for him to knock out in 6 rounds. That's what you guys expected. Me, I'll be truthful here. I thought Anthony Joshua was going to beat Alexander Usyk in the first fight. I thought it was going to be a late stoppage, not no early stoppage as you guys suggested. But no, I was clearly wrong. I have no shame of being wrong, but I will be consistent. I said that, you know what, you guys can dwell on the Chaz Witherspoons and the Derek Chisora fights, but particularly the Derek Chisora fight. And I said, look, Joshua doesn't fight that style. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm about to get off here in a second. But yeah, Joshua doesn't fight this style of Derek Chisora. So I don't understand why people are just all fixated on the fact that Joshua was going to walk, was going to like blow through the guy, which I said that I don't think that's going to happen. I thought it may be a late stoppage, but he's not going to just walk through Usyk. I just see that. So yeah, I have no problem admitting that I was wrong, but hey, you guys got to eat your words when you said Usyk wasn't shit, and he didn't deserve to be in the ring with Joshua leading up to that first fight. And now look at you. Percy, the fight doctor, he said that yeah, he needs a good trainer. Joshua can resurrect his career if he does that. I mean, like anybody has the opportunity to resurrect their own career. I mean, Joshua definitely has an opportunity. I'm not going to count him out. I just think that he needs to take a break from world level. And think he needs to rejuvenate himself. He needs to restructure his career. Just do what Lennox Lewis did. Like I said, we all keep bringing this up. Hatman, myself, EJ, and others. Do what Lennox Lewis did. Take a step back. It's a blessing in disguise. You need it. Take a step back, learn a few things, so that way you can rebuild your confidence. And that's exactly what Lennox Lewis had to go through. And he ended up having a Hall of Fame career because of that. Taking a step back and learning the new things, listening to people, whether you like it or not, whether you feel they're being harsh with their criticism. But sometimes harsh criticism is good feedback. It's a good thing. So yeah, going back into the going back to the Shields and Marshalls. Yeah, I think October 15th is a bad date because there's too much boxing going on that particular day. And I'm not sure if they'll be able to move tickets on time, for that day. But the one thing I really want to talk about here is this the Savannah Marshall and Michaela Mayer, their particular situation. The reason why I want to talk about this is because I know Savannah is pretty much struggling to make that 160 weight because she is pretty big to be at middleweight. So she's struggling to make the weight, and so is Michaela Mayer struggling to make 130. And Baumgartner has been chastising Mayer and criticizing her for that, for her troubles making weight. And Mayer is not happy about that at all. And said, responded by her and said, no, don't be mad at me. Not saying don't be mad at me. Don't worry about me making weight. You need to worry about the fact that you're not getting payday, blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure if Michaela means that the fight is off completely or it's just to me, I think Michaela is a little bit rattled by Baumgartner because she hasn't really met anyone who's really gotten to her head, who's gotten under her skin. So this is the first opponent that she's met who's live. She's hungry. She's a young champion, and Alicia Baumgartner, and she can hit hard. She's got very good hand speed. She's got very good skills. She's being trained by Tony Harrison. I think she's co-trained by Tony Harrison. So he's helped elevate her jab a little bit, but I really believe that Michaela is being rattled a little bit. I think the mind games by Alicia Baumgartner has got to her a little bit, especially if she keeps rallying her about her weight troubles. I mean, that will rattle any fighter, especially fighting in lower weight classes that they telling you can't even make the weight. I mean, what's your problem? And what's sad, what's worrying is that if the fight's being, if this card is being postponed for 4 weeks or 5 weeks, as they say, how can Mayer and how can Marshall maintain their weight going into those 4 weeks? Because that's an extremely difficult thing to do, given the fact that they both struggled to make this weight. So that's 4 or 5 weeks they have to wait, and I mean they're going to have to be very careful what they eat and what they intake as far as their meal preps is concerned. I mean, because those 4 weeks can come by very quickly, and soon, at some point at the day of the weigh-in, um, either one of those women could be overweight. So yeah, that's gonna be that's gonna be a telling situation that I have to keep an eye out on. So yeah, uh, Luis Ortiz calls out Anthony Joshua for a December showdown. Now I'll say this once and I say it again: this fight should have happened 4 years ago, 5 years ago, particularly when Luis Ortiz was mandatory for the WBA. I'm not gonna go into that whole story because We know what happened there, but it's sad to say that that fight didn't happen 5 years ago or 4 years ago. But I will say this though. Yes, I know Luis Ortiz had an opportunity to take on Anthony Joshua as a replacement opponent after Jarrell Big Baby Miller had to pull out because he got busted for PEDs, like a whole pharmacy of PEDs. And it is what it is. But the fact is that that fight should have happened 5 years ago when Ortiz was a mandatory. Joshua didn't want to fight him for some reason. Then you had the direct shot that Joshua offered to Ortiz, and Ortiz team turned it down. I get it, but is it a little too late for that fight to happen? You know what? It could happen, but me personally, I think Luis Ortiz again he needs to call it a day, man, because I think at this point of his career he could get seriously hurt, given the fact that his punch resistance is not the same anymore. I mean, he can't take a punch. Let's be real. It's like with Dillian White. Same thing with him. He's like he can't even take a punch anymore. There's like both their punch resistance is on par. So if there's a fight that maybe is more intriguing, not say more intriguing, that's leveled up, maybe it would be Luis Ortiz versus Dillian White. I think that'd be a good level matchup. But I'm not sure if Dillian would want that type of fight right now. But the guys are both coming back, coming off they're coming off losses. Ortiz coming off a unanimous decision loss, but punch resistance wise, both fighters' punch resistance is not there. It's gone. They can't even take a punch anymore. For those heavyweights, it's sad to see. But as far as him calling out Joshua for December Showdown, you can say it's all cap, but me personally, that's not realistic. If you ask me. Lastly, Golovkin and Canelo and Golovkin pay-per-view info. So the fight is coming up this Saturday on the Zone pay-per-view. And here is the price as it follows. Bear with me, guys. So I'm going to bring up the pay-per-view information. Give me a minute. So here's the pricing as it follows. So we have $84.99 for non-subscribers for the Zone pay-per-view, $64.99 for the $19.99 monthly subscribers, and I think if you are a non-subscriber, you get the first month included. Now for customers who have purchased let's see, I read that already. Annual subscribers will pay less altogether purchasing Golovkin and Canelo Golovkin 3, because the 150 annual price comes out to be $12.50 per month. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean that if you're a yearly subscriber, you get the pay-per-view included? Or they're going to bill you incrementally for the pay-per-view? I don't get that. I think the Zone needs to clarify that. So, I mean, if they are including the yearly subscription into the pay-per-view, then that's not a bad deal. But the problem, on the surface is not really considered too much of a bad deal. But the problem with that is that Golovkin and Canelo luckily only fights twice a year. So how's that, value worth your money? So, yeah, I don't think, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's not. Of course, this was the pricing they had before with their first pay per view, which is Canelo versus Bivol. But yeah, so those who live in an area where you don't have access to the Zone, you can actually purchase the pay per view on traditional cable and satellite providers such as Verizon Vios and DirecTV. So there you go, right there. So I guess the Zone out here does have some type of partnership with the linear broadcasters, and they get a cut. So the linear broadcasters do get a share of that pay-per-view revenue based off that, they split the fee. They split the licensing costs, I should say, whatnot, and they get a cut of that fee. So yeah, the Zone is actually just. They're trying to find a way to make up for their losses they had the last couple of years, which are very, very damaging. So yeah, they lost they lost their minds when they first launched their app. And I said to myself that this model was definitely not going to work financially, because the Zone doesn't have any other revenue stream of income to offset the fact that they're paying these high record purses to fighters who I'm not saying they deserve it, but you telling me that Mikey Garcia deserves $7 million to fight Jesse Vargas? 7 million just to take that fight alone? That's not even a premium level fight or pay per view level fight. That is. So yeah. Let me see what else we got here. Why is Joshua even ranked in the WBC? Has he even fought a WBC fighter? You know what? Shout out to Tony. I don't think he has. Let me see. Well, he's fought Dillian White, who's ranked, and that was many years ago. He's fought Otto Wanlin. Well, that was back in the amateurs, so that doesn't count. Um, Carlos, well, we're talking about top 15. We're not talking about top 40. So he's only fought, well, actually, he fought Andy Ruiz. So he's fought two guys who ranked in the WBC. He's beat both of those guys, Ruiz and White. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, that's a good point. White was even ranked when AJ fought him, and to be fair, I don't think Ruiz was Ruiz even ranked in the WBC when Anthony Joshua fought him the first time and the second. Well, not second time. I'm sorry, the first time. Was he even ranked, Anthony Ruiz, by the WBC? I don't think he was. I think he was ranked by the WBO, I believe, or the IBF is one of those two. But I don't think Ruiz was ranked by the WBC. But what I'm saying is that he's beaten two guys who's already ranked by the WBC right now, which is White and Ruiz. But again, going back to my initial point when I first started this, what I was going to say, um, yeah, I lost my train of thought, guys. Forgive me here. I was saying that Joshua getting that ranking above Otto Wallin and Mark McCauley, it's not justifiable. He's coming off two back-to-back losses, just like Deontay Wilder is. And why the hell is Wilder and Joshua getting the preferential treatment with the WBC? And let's be real, it's because they are both cash cows, and their sanction fees are very, very lucrative compared to all the other heavyweights. That's a fact. And I'm not saying that that's they should be given the benefit of the doubt because of that. I don't agree with that, but I can see why the WBC is doing that, and I just don't think it's right. I said this about Wilder, and I'm saying the same thing about Joshua. I'm keeping it consistent. I just like to see the fanboys call this out and criticize the WBC for giving Joshua this high ranking. And we all know why they gave him this ranking because they're anticipating that Wilder, the Fury and Joshua fight. That's what they're anticipating. So I don't agree with it, and I'm not cool with it at all. So yeah. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. I said I would make this short. I did, so I want to give a shout out to everybody who came in: Ahmed, Tony Reviews, Fight Doctor, Percy, Adari, Pennant. Not too many people because I know it's late. So I'm gonna get out of here. Just want to share my thoughts about this. Until next time, we're out. Peace.